My father and brother stole my car for years without consequences. But when I bought a $3,000 RV and equipped it with GPS tracker, they got arrested on the highway, and now I travel 15 states while they pay $7,000 in fines. I'm 26 years old. I work doing maintenance in commercial buildings. And honestly, I need to tell this story because what happened last year basically forced me to rethink my entire life and my relationship with my family. I guess I should start at the beginning. When I was like 16 and I got my first car, a 1998 Honda Accord that I bought with my own money after working 2 full summers at a gas station, it wasn't a big deal. You know, it had like 200,000 kilometers on it and the paint was kind of worn out. But it was mine. You know what I mean? I paid for it, I insured it, and I felt super proud every time I drove it because it represented all the effort I had put into getting it. The problem started almost immediately. My father, Gregory, had this super twisted idea that everything in the house was basically his, no matter who had bought it or paid for it. And my brother Nathan, who's 2 years older than me, had exactly the same mentality. I mean, they were like two peas in a pod on that. The first time my dad took my car keys without even asking me was like a week after I bought it. I got home from school and the car wasn't there. And when I called my dad, he said, "Oh yeah, I needed it to go to Home Depot. I'll be back in an hour." And I was like, "Seriously? You're not even going to ask me?" But when I complained to him later, he just laughed and said, "You live under my roof. You eat my food. So your car is my car too if I need it." My mom, Diane, just told me, "Oh, Sarah, you know how your father is. It's not worth making a drama about this." And that's how it went for years, literally. My dad and Nathan took turns taking my car whenever they felt like it, and they always brought it back with an empty tank or dirty or with some new scratch. One time, Nathan crashed it into a pole in a parking lot and didn't even tell me. I found out when I saw the dent in the bumper. When I confronted him, he just said, "Relax. You can barely notice it." And my dad backed him up, saying I was exaggerating. I tried to hide the keys, to always take them with me, but my dad literally had copies made without me knowing. So no matter what I did, they always found a way to take the car. The situation reached a super ugly point when I was like 23. I wasn't living at home anymore. I had moved to a small apartment like 20 minutes away, but I still went to visit my mom on weekends because, I don't know, I guess I still had this hope that things could get better. One Friday night, I went to dinner with them and left my car parked outside the house. And when I came out like at 10 at night, the car wasn't there. I called my dad and he didn't even answer. So I called Nathan and he sent me straight to voicemail. I was super scared because I thought it had been stolen. So I called the police and reported the theft. Like at midnight, the cops found it. Nathan was driving it with 2 of his friends, all super drunk, going who knows where. They stopped him and almost arrested him for drunk driving. But in the end, they just gave him a ticket because it was his first offense or something. You know what happened next? My dad kicked me out of the house. He yelled at me about how dare I call the police on my own family, that I was a traitor, that because of me, Nathan almost ended up in jail. I told him that Nathan had stolen my car and had endangered other people by driving drunk, but he just kept yelling. And my mom was standing there saying nothing, just with that resigned look she always had when my dad got angry. He told me he didn't want to see me again, that I had become a horrible person, and basically kicked me out. Nathan was there too, all smiling and satisfied, like he was the victim in all this. After that, I went like 6 months without talking to them. My mom called me every so often and begged me to make peace with my dad, that he was calmer now, that family was the most important thing, all that stuff. Eventually, I gave in because, honestly, part of me still, I wanted to have a relationship with my mom at least, and I thought that maybe my dad had learned his lesson. How naive I was, right? The first few weeks after I started talking to them again, everything was relatively calm. But then it started again. The same behaviors, the same abuse. My dad never asked to borrow my car directly. He just took it, and Nathan did the same. The breaking point, the moment I decided I had to do something drastic, was when my Honda finally died. I was like 24 at that point, and the car had endured everything my dad and Nathan had done to it for years. But one day, it just stopped working. The mechanic told me the transmission was destroyed, and that fixing it was going to cost more than the car was worth. I was without a car for like 2 months, depending on public transportation and friends to get to work, and it was horrible. I saved every penny I could during that time because I knew I needed something different, something my dad and Nathan couldn't just take and use as if it were theirs. And then I got the idea. I was browsing Facebook Marketplace looking for used cars when I came across an ad for an RV, specifically a 2001 Keystone Cougar, like a fifth wheel, one of those that you need a truck to pull. The guy was selling it for $3,000, which was basically everything I had saved, but when I went to see it, I realized it was in pretty decent condition. It had a small kitchen, full bathroom, a bed, storage space, everything I needed to live there. And most importantly, my dad didn't have a truck big enough to pull it, so he couldn't just take it whenever he wanted. I bought the RV that same week. The seller even helped me tow it to where I needed it. This is where my cousin Tyler comes in, who basically saved my life at that moment. Tyler is like 32. He's super cool, and he has a rural property like 40 minutes from the town where I live, like a big piece of land with some trees and open space. When I told him my situation and asked if I could park my RV on his property for a while, he didn't even think twice. He told me, "Sure, cousin, bring it whenever you want," and he even helped me connect it to the electricity and water he had on his land. He literally saved me, because I didn't have any other place to put it safely. I moved into the RV like a week after buying it. It wasn't luxurious or anything. You know, the space was small and sometimes it got cold at night, but it was mine, completely mine, and nobody could take it from me. For the first time in years, I felt like I had some control over my life. I kept working at my maintenance job, saving money, and basically enjoying my independence. Tyler visited me often. Sometimes he brought me food or we just hung out talking. And honestly, those months were some of the most peaceful I'd had in a long time. Obviously, my dad and Nathan found out about the RV, my mom told them, because she still called me every once in a while to see how I was. At first, they didn't say anything. Like 2 weeks went by without them mentioning anything about it. But then one Saturday afternoon, I got a call from my dad. I answered because, I don't know. I still had that part of me that wanted to believe that maybe he was calling to see how I was or something. But no, literally the first thing he said was, "I heard you have an RV. I need you to lend it to me next weekend. I'm going fishing with some friends and it would be perfect for the trip." I was quiet for a second because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him, "No, Dad, I'm not going to lend it to you. I live there. It's my home." He laughed, like that condescending laugh he always used when he thought I was being ridiculous, and he told me, "Sarah, don't be dramatic. I only need it for 4 days. You can stay in a hotel or with your mom in the meantime." I said no again, more firmly this time, and he got angry. He started with the same speech as always, that I was ungrateful, that he had raised me and given me everything when I was a child, that the least I could do was lend him the RV when he needed it. I told him I didn't care, that the answer was no, and I hung up. Nathan called me like 10 minutes later. He told me, "Are you seriously going to deny Dad the RV? You're incredibly selfish, Sarah." I told him that he had nothing to do with this and that I wasn't going to let myself be manipulated again. He started yelling at me, saying that I had always been the black sheep of the family, that nobody could stand me, that if I didn't lend the RV, I was going to regret it. I hung up on him too. My mom called me that night, literally crying, begging me to reconsider, that this was going to cause a huge family problem, that please, I should think about the peace of the family. I told her that the peace of the family had never included respecting me or my things, so why should I care now? The next few weeks were a nightmare of calls, text messages, and family pressure. Uncles and aunts who didn't even normally talk to me were suddenly contacting me to tell me I was being selfish, that family helps each other, all that stuff. Only Tyler and Isabella, another cousin of mine, supported me. Isabella is like 29. She's super direct and doesn't take crap from anyone. And when she found out what was happening, she called me and told me, "Don't lend them anything, Sarah. They've never respected you, and they never will. Stand firm." And that gave me a lot of strength because I felt like I was going crazy with all the pressure. One night, like at 2 inches the morning, I woke up to a noise outside the RV. I looked out the window and saw Tyler's truck parked outside. But it wasn't Tyler who was there. It was my dad and Nathan, and they had a borrowed or rented truck or something, like a big F-250, and they were trying to hitch my RV to the truck. I froze for a second because I couldn't believe they were doing this, literally trying to steal my house while I was inside sleeping. I ran out and started yelling at them. What the hell are you doing? My dad didn't even look embarrassed. He just told me, we need the RV. Sarah, you're going to have to get over it. Tyler came out of his house at that moment. He had heard the screaming, and when he saw what was happening, he got super furious. He yelled at them to get off his property immediately or he was going to call the police. My dad tried to argue, saying this was a family matter, and Tyler had nothing to do with it. But Tyler pulled out his phone and started dialing 911. My dad and Nathan got in the truck and left, but before leaving, Nathan yelled at me through the window, "This isn't going to end like this. You'll see." After that night, I knew I had to take more serious measures. Tyler helped me install security cameras around the RV, like those cameras with motion sensors that send notifications to your phone. I also bought a GPS tracker and hid it in the RV, one of those that trucking companies use to track their trucks. It cost me like $200 plus the monthly subscription, but it was worth every penny. We also put a super resistant lock on the hitch of the RV, like an industrial one that can't be cut easily. My dad tried to contact me several times after that, but I no longer answered him. My mom kept calling, more and more desperate, saying that I was destroying the family. I told her that the family was already destroyed long before I bought the RV, and that if she couldn't see it, then there was nothing more to talk about. That was hard, honestly, because despite everything, I still wanted to have a relationship with my mom, but she simply couldn't, or wouldn't, see how toxic my dad and Nathan's behavior was. Like 2 months later, there was a family gathering, like a barbecue at my uncle's house. I didn't want to go, obviously, but Isabella convinced me. She told me, "Look, if you don't go, they're going to use that against you. They're going to say that you're the one avoiding the family. Better go and show that. You have nothing to be ashamed of." So I went. But I went mentally prepared for the drama I knew was going to happen. I was there maybe an hour when my dad approached me. He had that fake smile he always wore when he wanted something, and he told me in front of everyone, "Sarah, I'm glad you came. It's time we put this misunderstanding behind us. Don't you think?" I told him, "There's no misunderstanding, Dad. I'm simply not going to let you continue abusing me and my things." He acted offended, like put on that victim face he always used, and said, "Abusing? Sarah, I just asked to borrow the RV for a trip. It's not that big a deal." Several family members started to murmur, some clearly on his side. Then Isabella jumped in. She stood next to me and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Gregory, you and Nathan have been stealing things from Sarah for years, using her car without permission, destroying it, and now that she finally has something you can't touch, you're throwing a tantrum." The whole gathering went silent. My dad tried to interrupt, but Isabella continued, "No, let me finish. All of you have been pressuring Sarah to give in to Gregory's ridiculous demands, but nobody has stopped to think about how she's felt all these years being treated like her things don't matter." My uncle tried to calm the situation, saying those were private matters that shouldn't be discussed there, but Isabella didn't back down. She said, "No, this needed to be said a long time ago." I left that gathering feeling weird, like relieved but also exhausted. Isabella walked me to my car and hugged me, told me I had done the right thing, and not to let anyone make me feel bad for setting boundaries. And that was a turning point for me because I realized I wasn't alone, that there were people in my family who supported me even though they were few. Like 3 relatively quiet months passed. My dad and Nathan stopped contacting me directly, although my mom still called occasionally. I kept living in my dad's and RV on Tyler's property, working and saving money. I started making plans to travel. Like I was thinking about moving to another state eventually, starting over somewhere where my family couldn't keep affecting me. Then one day I had to travel for work, like a 3-day training in a city, like 4 hours away. I told Tyler I was going to be away, and he told me not to worry, that he'd keep an eye on the RV. I left Monday morning and everything was fine. The cameras were working perfectly and I could check them from my phone. Tuesday night, like at 11, I got a motion alert from the cameras. I opened the app and saw my dad and Nathan again, but this time with tools, trying to cut the lock on the hitch. I called Tyler immediately, and he ran out of his house, but by the time he got to where the RV was, my dad and Nathan had already managed to cut the lock and were hitching the RV to a different truck. Tyler yelled at them to stop, but they completely ignored him. They hitched the RV and drove off, literally stole my house while I was 4 hours away. Tyler called me super upset, telling me what had happened, and I immediately called the police. This is where the GPS tracker became my salvation. I opened the tracker app on my phone and I could see exactly where my RV was in real time. I gave the information to the police, gave them the license plate number of the truck that Tyler had managed to see, and explained the whole situation to them. They told me they were going to send units to intercept the RV. Tyler, meanwhile, had gotten in his own truck and was following them from a distance to make sure the police could find them. The police stopped them like 30 minutes later on the highway. According to what the officer told me later, my dad tried to say that the RV was his, that he was just moving it to another location. But when they asked him for proof of ownership, obviously he didn't have anything because I had all the papers in my name. Tyler arrived just when they were detaining them and explained to the cops the whole context, that they had tried to steal it before, that they had cut the lock, everything. The cops arrested my dad right there. Nathan tried to flee on foot, but one of the officers caught him like half a mile away. I had to drive back that same night. I got to the police station at like 3 inches the morning to give my statement and pick up my RV. Seeing my dad at the police station was surreal, honestly. He looked at me with so much hatred, like he was blaming me for being there when he was the one who had literally stolen my house. Nathan didn't even look at me. He was just sitting with his head down. The legal process was relatively quick. My dad pleaded guilty because there was too much evidence against him: the security cameras, the GPS tracker, Tyler's testimony, everything. They gave him a $5,000 fine, and he had to pay me restitution for the damage to the lock and emotional distress, like another $2,000. They also gave him probation, like he had to report to an officer every month, and if he tried to contact me or approach me again, he was going to end up in jail. Nathan received a similar sentence, but with a smaller fine because technically he had only helped my dad. After all that, I decided it was time to really leave. Tyler helped me prepare the RV for long trips. We installed solar panels on the roof, bought a bigger water tank, basically converted it into something completely functional for living on the road indefinitely. I quit my job. Or rather, I told them I was going to start working remotely, doing property maintenance for a company that hired remote workers. Basically, I was going to travel and do repairs at different properties while I moved from place to place. My mom tried to stop me one last time. She came to see me like 2 days before I left and cried, begged me to stay, to give the family another chance. I told her that I had given many chances, that for years I had accepted the abuse, thinking things were going to change, but that I realized they were never going to change if I kept allowing it. I told her I loved her, but that I needed to get away to be able to heal and find my own peace. She just kept crying and telling me that someday I was going to regret it, that family was the most important thing. I left on a Monday morning, like the first week of March last year. Tyler accompanied me to the edge of town, hugged me, and told me I would always have a place on his property if I ever needed to come back. Isabella also came to say goodbye, brought me a bunch of snacks for the road, and told me she was super proud of me for finally putting myself first. I drove south without a specific destination, just with the idea of discovering new places and meeting new people. It's been like 14 months since I left, and honestly, it's been the best decision I've made in my life. I've been to like 15 different states. I've met incredible people. I've worked in super interesting places, and for the first time in years, I feel at peace. I haven't talked to my dad or Nathan since the trial. My mom calls me every so often, but our conversations are short and superficial because she still can't accept that I'm not going back to that toxic dynamic. Tyler and Isabella visit me when I pass near where they are, like we meet at some midpoint and spend the day together, and that makes me feel like I still have family. Just now, it's family I choose, not family I have to put up with. Last week, I was parked at a national park in Colorado, enjoying the view of the mountains from my RV window, and I got a text message from an unknown number. It was Nathan. I guess he got a new phone because I had blocked his previous number. The message said, "Dad is sick. He needs to see you. Please come home." I didn't answer him. Not because I'm a bad person or because I don't care if my dad is sick, but because I know it's another manipulation, another attempt to pull me back into that cycle of abuse. I blocked the new number and went on with my day. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Honestly. Maybe someday I'll find a way to have a healthy relationship with my mom without having to deal with my dad and Nathan. Or maybe not. Maybe someday I'll settle somewhere permanent and stop traveling, or maybe I'll keep doing this for years. What I do know is that for the first time in my life, I feel like I have control over my own decisions, that nobody can take away what's mine. and that it's okay to set boundaries even when that means distancing yourself from people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. That 2001 RV I bought for $3,000 ended up being much more than a place to live. It ended up being my ticket to the freedom and independence I so desperately needed. And that, for me, is worth more than any toxic family relationship I left behind.